Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about the unconscious mind, the 95% of who you are. Anxiety sufferers are running unconsciously most of the time. They're running in a loop of pain and suffering, and they fail to realize that this pain and suffering is a pattern they've now practiced for a long time. And it's only when they step back and notice these patterns, things start to click. I've had clients come to me and say, Brad, I resonated with your day in the life of health anxiety. I resonated in your video about health anxiety signs and symptoms. And then I ask them, well, why? And then they say, it resonated because I didn't even know I was doing these things and that they are a link to anxiety. And it's a big realization from them because they move from this unknown place into some known territory. They now know it's anxiety, it's a relief to them, but now they have to say, well, I have to learn about anxiety now. I have to figure out what's going on underneath the surface of my being, right? And that's their unconscious mind. What is really going on there? And so these patterns, these signs, the symptoms are all coming from your unconscious mind. So why we're not taught this in our school, in our educational system, is beyond me. It's part of healing. It's when we start to integrate these aspects and confront the thing that you don't want to confront, that's what healing is all about. You can't heal if you don't confront your fears. You can cope, you can take medication, you can eat junk food, you can go to your doctors, you can continue the reassurance seeking, but that's not going to solve the problem. There's root causes there, and we have to look into the unconscious mind. In our stories, in the stories we see in the movies and what we read about this journey forth into what we don't want to confront with the hero archetype. So Harry Potter, Lion King, Luke Skywalker, Bilbo Baggins, they journey out of what they know and what is familiar to them. They go into the unknown, into what's uncomfortable. They face their fears. They gather what's important in the unknown. Could be knowledge, wisdom, gold, treasure, or somebody else. And they bring that back to the community and they share that with the community. And so in The Lion King, there's a moment in The Lion King where Simba is out in the field. He's all alone. He's looking for help and guidance. He looks up to the stars and he asks for help. And then Rafiki shows up. And that's so interesting because when we ask for help and when we pray, it's like things bubble up, answers come forth. It's like when we have a clear aim and we set our eyes up towards something beyond us, we start to manifest that thing. So in this case, Simba, he looks to the stars, he has an aim, he has a question, right? And so the question brings about Rafiki. Now Rafiki guides Simba into this thicket, into this dark place, and he winds up at this pool. Now the unconscious mind is always represented as water, and that's because things bubble up, right? Things pop up, they surface. And in the water, well, you go fishing for the answers, right? For example, you sit on the edge of your bed and you ask yourself, what stupid things am I doing today that I know I should stop doing, but I can't seem to stop? And then these answers come up. And that they're coming from your unconscious mind. Yeah, well, I know I should stop smoking, but I can't seem to stop. I know I should stop reassurance seeking. I know I should probably go to work, but I know I'm not. Things come up if you really ask yourself this question. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about that part of you, the thing that is not only producing your anxiety, but where answers lurk and possibilities lurk. And so the first thing I want to touch upon is habits. Habits are formed in the unconscious mind. Patterns, our body wants to automate itself, because if we are paying attention to every heartbeat, breath, movement, right? Every little thing, well, we're going to use up so much mental energy, we won't be able to function. We can't do that, right? There's just too much information in the world. There's an infinite amount of information, and so the body regulates itself and it automates itself as much as possible. And so your patterns, even if they are toxic, they could be practiced. Well, it could be painful for you. These patterns continue to cause you suffering, but they're patterns. You've practiced them for a long time. It's all your unconscious knows. Maybe all you know is pain and suffering because you've been in that cycle for a long time. And so once you start to practice meditate, I see it all the time with clients. They say, well, I just can't seem to get into meditation. I can't seem to just change my patterns or get into a new habit. But I tell them, you have to, you're suffering right now. And so your patterns in the world, your behaviors, they're not producing the results you want. So you have to step outside of what's familiar to find some sort of answer, don't you? If things aren't working for you, isn't it obvious to go outside of what's not familiar to you? Just try other things. Do them. See what happens. Because what do you have to lose? You're already suffering. Now, the second thing I want to touch upon in regards to the unconscious mind is our values are formed there. So we have a hierarchy of things that we value. Now, what are values? Well, the thing that you're paying attention to the most is what you value, right? What do you do daily? And you value that thing. So are you paying attention to the parts of your body that cause you pain and then you think that they are a serious illness, and so you're seeking reassurance, or you're Googling and or you're going to the doctors constantly, you're avoiding situations, you're telling yourself, your unconscious is like, oh, this is what Brad values, this pain. And your attention is always going to go to that pain. Where focus goes, your energy flows. And because anxiety sufferers are obsessing over particular things, the feelings that they get, that's a sign that their stress response is active, right? Because the thoughts produce emotions. Are your thoughts, well, you can look at your emotions. Are you getting the emotions you want? Do you feel good? No. Well, they're coming from thoughts. They're coming from what you're paying attention to. Are you paying attention to things that make you feel good? Are you worried about things? Well, your anxiety is active. And then I'll say, well, because your anxiety is active, they're producing more symptoms. Your body is basically stepping on the gas pedal and the car is in park. You're just burning up resources. Your stress response is just producing a lot of cortisol, adrenaline, and it's keeping you in this cycle. So you have to step out of the adrenaline cycle, the cortisol cycle, and start to calm the system down. You have to, and that's the unknown, right? You have to start to meditate. You have to start to relax, slow down, journal. You have to explore your unconscious mind by meditating, by spending quality time with yourself, by reducing the workload in your day. You have to slow the system down. That means you have to adopt new patterns. The next thing I want to talk about is beliefs. Beliefs come from the unconscious mind. They could be low resolution beliefs, right? Beliefs that were formed when you were 10 years old by parents. Maybe your parents were catastrophizing over an illness, and you've adopted their ways of talking and behaving and thinking, right? Because that's all you know. You look up to your parents, even though they're unhealthy, but you don't know that they're toxic, right, in their beliefs. You're just trying to, you're a sponge, you're just trying to figure out how to function in this world, right? And you look up to them, even though they're saying they're worried about certain illnesses and beliefs. That's what you adopt. You absorb that, and then you carry that with you into your 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe for the rest of your life, until you figure out, okay, this programming is not serving me. What can I do to uninstall these programs? And so beliefs, thoughts stem from your beliefs, right? You get the thought, you believe a certain way about the thought, and then you get the feelings. And so thoughts stem from beliefs. The last thing I want to touch upon in this video is trauma. Now, those memories that we ruminate over that cause us those negative feelings, those come from your unconscious mind. When we go through an experience and it exceeds our emotional threshold, causes us a strong emotion, could be negative or positive, we hold on to that. We remember that. But it's the negative ones that really keep us stuck in the past, right? It's those mental movies, those images. You can look at your unconscious like a Rolodex, right? You encounter something that causes you a lot of negative emotion. Your unconscious says, oh my God, I have to store this because we don't want to walk into the same situation again in the future. So the unconscious puts it in the Rolodex. And so your Rolodex might be full of all of these stored memories, and your unconscious is sending you signals because you're going through your day, you get the feelings, you get the mental movies of something that has happened to you in the past that you haven't resolved. That's a sign that you need to resolve it, but you don't know how to. So you repress it, you suppress it, and then you continue to go about your day. But your unconscious is not going to let it go. It's going to bring it back at another point in time. And so you think it's resolved, but it's just swept under the rug. And so to heal, you have to confront those moments from your past. I see it all the time with my clients. I'll guide them through a traumatic moment and help them reframe that moment. And they do the work and they say, Brad, I feel different. It's like a gap opened up in my life. The place where that memory was causing me pain is no longer there anymore. It's like a black space opened up. And they're like, I don't know what to do with that black space. And I tell them, well, why would you want to do anything with that? You just reframed something traumatic. You let it go. Your unconscious doesn't need to hold on to it because now it's attached safety to the experience rather than dread. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you have any comments and questions, please leave them below. I'd like to read them. And lastly, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.